Welcome back. It is Tuesday, the 23rd, and we are continuing with our June chapter on the bottom of page 15. Matthias doesn't say another word as we make our way down the corridors, past the manicured lawns of the central quad and the glorious elector statue, and finally through one of the indoor gyms. We pass by the afternoon drills I'm supposed to be participating in. I watch my classmates run along a gigantic track surrounded by a 360-degree screen simulating some desolate war front road. They're holding rifles out in front of them, attempting to load and unload as fast as they can while running. At most other universities, there wouldn't be so many student soldiers, but at Drake, almost all of us are well on our way to career assignments in the Republic's military. So there's no longer a United States. It's the Republic and the colonies, divided into two different countries now. This is the future, people. Dystopia. A few others are tapped for politics and Congress, and some are chosen to stay behind and teach. But Drake is the Republic's best university. And seeing as how the best are always assigned into the military, our drill room is packed with students. By the time we reach one of Drake's outer streets, and I climb into the back seat of our waiting military jeep, Matthias can barely contain his anger. "Suspended for a week? Do you want to explain this to me?" he demands. "I get back from a morning dealing with the Patriot rebels, and what do I hear about? Helicopters 2 blocks from Drake, a girl scaling a skyscraper." I exchange a friendly look with Thomas, the soldier in the driver's seat. "Sorry," I mutter. Matthias turns around from his place in the passenger seat and narrows his eyes at me. "What the hell were you thinking? Did you know you'd wandered right off campus? Did you know you'd wandered right off campus?" "Yes." "Of course. You're 15. You went 14 floors up. He takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, steadies himself. "For once, I'd appreciate it if you would let me do my daily chores of duty without worrying myself sick over what you're up to." I try to meet Thomas's eyes again in the rearview mirror, but he keeps his gaze on the road. Of course, I shouldn't expect any help from him. He looks as tidy as ever with his perfectly slicked hair and perfectly ironed uniform, not a strand out of place. Thomas might be several years younger than Matthias and a subordinate on his patrol, but he's more disciplined than anyone I know. Sometimes I wish I had that much discipline. He probably disapproves of my stunts even more than Matthias does. We leave downtown Los Angeles behind and travel up the winding highway in silence. The scenery changes from Inner Batalla sector's 100-floor skyscrapers to densely packed barrack towers and civilian complexes, each one only 20 or 30 stories high, with red guiding lights blinking on their roofs. Most with all their paint stripped off after a year's rash of storms. Metal support beams crisscross their walls. I hope they upgrade those supports soon. The war's been intense lately, with several decades of infrastructure funding diverted to supplying the war front. I don't know if these buildings will hold up well in another earthquake. Remember, it's California. After a few minutes, Matthias continues in a calmer voice. "You scared me today," he said. "I was afraid they'd mistake you for Day and shoot at you." I know he doesn't mean this as a compliment, but I can't help smiling. I lean forward and rest my arms on the top of his seat. "Hey," I say, tugging his ear the way I did when I was a kid. "I'm sorry I made you worry." He lets out a scornful chuckle. But I can tell his anger is already fading. "Yeah, that's what you say every time, Junebug. Is Drake not keeping your brain busy enough? If not, then I don't know what will." "You know, if you'd just take me along on some of your missions, I'd probably learn a lot more and stay out of trouble." "Nice try. You're not going anywhere until you graduate and get assigned to your own patrol." I bite my tongue. Matthias did pick me once, for a mission last year, when all third-year Drake students had to shadow an assigned military branch. His commander sent him to kill a runaway prisoner of war from the colonies, so Matthias brought me along with him, and together we chased the POW deeper and deeper into our territory, away from the dividing fences and the strip of land running from Dakota to West Texas that separates the Republic from the colonies, away from the war front where the airships dot the sky. I tracked him into an alley in Yellowstone City, Montana, and Matthias shot him. During the chase, I broke 3 ribs and had a knife buried in my leg. Now Matthias refuses to take me anywhere. When Matthias finally speaks again, he sounds grudgingly curious. So tell me, he whispers, how fast did you climb those 14 stories? Thomas makes a disapproving sound in his throat. But I break into a grin. Storm's past. Matthias loves me again. 6 minutes, I whisper. And 44 seconds. How do you like that? That must be some sort of record. Not that, you're supposed to do it. Thomas stops the Jeep right behind the line at the red light and gives Matthias an exasperated look. Come on, Captain, he says. June, Ms. I. Paris won't learn a thing if you keep praising her for breaking the rules. Cheer up, Thomas. Matthias reaches over and claps him on the back. Surely, breaking a rule once in a while is tolerable, especially if you're doing it to beef up your skills for the Republic's sake. Victory against the colonies, right? The light blinks green. Thomas turns his eyes back to the road. He seems to count to 3 in his head before letting the Jeep go forward. Right, he mutters. You should still be careful what you're encouraging Miss I. Paris to do, especially with your parents gone. Matthias's mouth tightens into a line. A familiar, strained look appears in his eyes. No matter how sharp my intuition is, no matter how well I do at Drake or how perfectly I score in defense and target practice and hand-to-hand combat, Matthias's eyes always hold that fear. He's afraid something might happen to me one day, like the car crash that took our parents. That fear never leaves his face. And Thomas knows it. I didn't know our parents long enough to miss them in the same way Matthias does. Whenever I cry over losing them, I cry because I don't have any memories of them. Just hazy recollections of long adult legs shuffling along our apartment and hands lifting me up from my high chair. And that's it. Every other memory from my childhood, looking out into the auditorium as I receive an award, or having soup made for me when I'm sick, or being scolded or tucked into bed, those are with Matthias. We drive past half of Batala sector and through a few poor blocks. Can't see the street beggars. Can't these street beggars stay a little farther from our Jeep? Finally, we reach the gleaming terraced high-rises of Ruby, and we're home. Matthias gets out first. As I follow, Thomas gives me a small smile. See you later, Miss I. Paris, he says, tipping his hat. I stopped trying to convince him to call me June. He'll never change. Still, it's not so bad being called something proper. Maybe when I'm older, Matthias doesn't faint at the idea of me dating. Bye, Thomas. Thanks for the ride. I smile back at him before stepping out of the Jeep. Matthias waits until the door is slammed shut before turning to me and lowering his voice. I'll be home late tonight, he says. There's a tension in his eyes again. Don't go out alone. News from the war front is they're cutting power to residences tonight to save energy for airfield bases. So stay put, okay? The streets will be darker than usual. My heart sinks. I wish the Republic would hurry up and win this war already, so that for once we might actually get a whole month of nonstop electricity. Where are you going? Can I come with you? I'm overseeing the lab at Los Angeles Central. They're delivering vials of some mutated virus there. It shouldn't take all night. And I already told you, no missions. Matthias hesitates. I'll be home as early as I can. We have a lot to talk about. He put his hands on my shoulders, ignores my puzzled look, and gives me a quick kiss on my forehead. Love you, Junebug, he says, his trademark goodbye. He turns to climb back into the Jeep. I'm not going to wait up for you, I call after him, but by now he's already inside the Jeep's pulling away, and the Jeep's pulling away with him inside it. Be careful, I murmur. But it's pointless to say now. Matthias is too far away to hear me. And that's the end of that chapter. Thank you.